Hi everyone, it's Rob Watson, the module leader for Tech 1002, Social Media Innovation, and this is the lecture summary overview for the 20th lecture. So we're rapidly closing in on the end point, nearly there, only a few more weeks to go. The topic of this week's lecture is network culture, and what I want to do in this lecture is kind of go through some issues which are related to the way that we operate through a sense of identity, if you like, through network culture, and kind of how we engage with each other in network culture. I'm going to reiterate what we talked about in the lecture in week 16, which is the Simon Lindgren framework for those things which are analog and digital, those things which are a kind of combination, digitally enhanced, if you like, and those things which are purely digital. And this kind of takes us into the realm of those things which are purely digital. So we're kind of leaving behind those things which are an incorporation of the analog and the physical world, and we're moving and shifting our focus into those things which are purely or largely the product of the digital world that you can't do in the real world, physical world. And this is the idea of kind of, it emerges from the network culture notion that there is a culture that is used, a kind of virtual culture that is associated with life online, which is distinct and different from the cultures which exist in our interpersonal interactions with other people in the social world, if you like. And one of the things that drives this is the notion of the attention economy. So this kind of continues the discussion from Henry Jenkins and the shift towards spreadable media, which is what is the foundation for an attention economy. And it's all about offering experiences that absorb our attention, keep our eyes fixed, keep us using, keep us sharing these certain things. And so there's a whole kind of focus, kind of fan networks and fan cultures, and the music cultures that we've talked about have that kind of, now it's about, you don't just follow a band, you don't just like their music, you live the experience, the social experience of being somebody who's got you're part of a community of interest, if you like. So I'm going to use a model which is, I think it's a really, it is unique to social media, and it's having profound change, and it's challenging boundaries that previously existed, which kind of, it gets overturned now, and it's social dating. And there's a discussion of this in Jones and Hafner. I can't remember off the top of my head which chapter it is, but they talk about the way they use the model of the sociologist Erving Goffman to talk about identity as a kind of performance. It's a kind of drama. Our identity and the role that we play in society and with different types of people is what they call a dramaturgical experience. It's a dramatized experience. So I'm going to ask this in the context of thinking about how selfies work with online dating, and thinking about our identity, if you like, in the network culture as something which is a kind of a virtualization, like an avatar of ourselves, and that what we're engaged in is a form of self-presentation. We present ourselves. Why do we take selfies from a particular angle with a particular expression, as opposed to kind of the many hidden other opportunities that we have? We want to present ourselves in a particular way, and we spend a lot of time and a lot of effort putting ourselves into our best, our most Instagrammable pose, or our most Tinder-friendly pose. And then on the other side of that, we have to decode these things. When we're flicking through Tinder or Grindr or whichever dating app that it is that you use, you're looking at people and you're saying, they're not going to be like that in real life, or yes, that's my kind of guy or my kind of girl, and kind of what is it that you kind of you read into the picture, and then how do you cross the boundaries in terms of meeting people and express that identity? So it's the idea of kind of using social identities and kind of social props, if you like, the things around us. We're like kind of, we're in a casting. We're always constantly in a kind of, those videos. That's a very good point, actually. Those videos, casting calls, where you see actors making their initial performance, and the film companies will release them to kind of say, yeah, we always wanted this person because this is what they brought to the performance, and in its raw state. And now, are we in a perpetual sense of casting, of seeking approval from people. So we manage the way that we present ourselves, and that's kind of becoming, you know, not just in the physical world is it important, but having that sense of, you know, kind of how that travels globally and internationally, and being ourselves. And what does it mean to have a sense of an authentic identity as opposed to a kind of fake identity? And there's some interesting stuff to do around that kind of notion of parody and playfulness with identity, which kind of, you know, unpicks people's or challenges people's expectations of who they are, what the self is. So this is a set of social practices that are really worth exploring. We'll look at some identity, some issues and some examples, and really how we play out these social roles and what they mean, and what the affordances are of the technology that enables us to operate and work in this way. But as with everything, and particularly in a social setting, there's an ethical concern about the way that you use, you know, so fake identities and kind of what's the, you know, the kind of, I'm not really sure what the language is. Perhaps this is something that you can tell me about in terms of, you know, how do you respond to somebody who's clearly got a fake account, or catfishing, is that the phrase? I don't do well. I do bits of dating, you know, online dating, but, you know, it's kind of, I'm still single, so I'm not particularly successful at it. Maybe I need some tips and advice about how to do this. What are the kind of support structures that go in place to enable this? What are the kind of, where do the rules come from these things? Who sets the rules? Who breaks the rules? These are all really valid questions. So we'll look at some issues to do with the kind of positive contribution that people can make, and we'll go on to looking at some issues about vloggers and how vloggers, and I'm going to use Tyler Oakley as an example of somebody who's been a YouTube vlogger for a while, who's now a celebrity, and YouTube has turned towards that celebritizing of its vloggers, and it's kind of, you know, the challenge of presenting a sense of identity with an audience, if you like, which is non-traditional in its sense of, you know, it's a younger audience and they don't watch television in the same formal way that older audiences do. So there's a lot to kind of think about with this, and I suppose the idea is that we, you know, ultimately we maybe want to ask the question, is our kind of identity, our attention economy, is that something which we need to reconsider in terms of, wouldn't it be better to have an economy which is based on our contribution and our merit rather than our appearance and our attention-grabbingness techniques that we employ? Anyway, the notes for this are up on the DMU Commons wiki. Just go to wiki.our.dmu.ac.uk. You can download them as a PDF. If you want to add anything to the discussion or share any examples that you think are interesting to prompt a discussion, then go over to talk.our.dmu.ac.uk. How could I get that wrong? Log in using the LDAP button, because then you go in with your P number and your password. But I'll see you at the lecture.